Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 107 of the High Sensitivity Podcast. Thank you for listening, and if it's your first time here, we talk about video game and movie news, as well as what we watched or played over the weekend. My name is Barry, along with my co host,
My name is Craig.
and it's been a slow week for video games. There isn't a lot of news, so we have a fun segment after the news, and then we get to talk about whatever games we played, which I'm actually working on my backlog. Who would have thought?
Hey, look at that.
But first we'll get into the news. I guess the biggest news sort of rumor that's coming out is Sony might buy From Software, the makers of Elden Ring, the biggest game to ever been released in all of time. No
Is
questions
that is
asked.
that accurate?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
But overall, it would make sense considering that From Software did release a Sony only game with Bloodborne, and Bloodborne has been loved, and people have been clamoring about a PS5 update for the original Bloodborne or a Bloodborne 2, and it still hasn't happened. But it would make sense if Sony wanted to make like big news in the gaming world where it's kind of like dry right now in gaming news. Them buying From Software, who just came off probably the biggest launch of their sorry, it's not a probably, it is the biggest launch of their
Yeah.
entire company with Elden Ring. That is a I almost think that is a name, and you'll probably disagree with me, equal to that of Activision.
Um yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they're equal. I think it's close after Elden Ring for sure. And this also is like hearing this news is 100% like that makes sense to me. I could totally see From Software being a PlayStation exclusive thing. It just clicks in my mind to be like, yeah, you want to play Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Elden Ring, whatever. Yeah, you play it on PlayStation.
And that's right,
So,
even and
yeah.
I even forgot to mention Demon Souls
Yeah.
was originally a PS3 game. Then the remake was done by Bluepoint, not by From Software, so don't get it confused. But we if Sony ends up doing it, cool. I just kind of feel bad for all of the people that love Dark Souls and love Elden Ring on Xbox that may not get these games anymore. So
Yeah, and I would think that they'll probably still release them on PC as well,
yeah,
even if
probably.
it's not like you're going to be totally out of the loop if you don't have a PlayStation. But yeah, I mean, I could see some Xbox people being upset.
Yeah, we'll have to see because it's just a rumor.
Yeah.
It may never happen. So I guess we'll see. Next up is the Halo campaign co-op is scheduled for August released. This is bigger news just because this was supposed to come out months ago,
Yep.
but it was delayed just due to issues, and now we're starting to see it, show up again. Where in August it's supposed to be released. I hope it is. A lot of recent news has shown that like Halo Infinite player base has just plummeted down.
Yep.
So, and I think that's because they're missing things like Forge. They're missing things like co-op campaign where people can play with each other. Halo Halo multiplayer is almost a different beast on its own. Like that's the reason I don't play like multiplayer for Halo is because I don't know. Halo multiplayer just does not feel right to me. I
Yep.
feel like, and this is saying something coming from an Apex, for me who plays Apex, I feel like my bullets don't hit, or like that they aren't doing anything until like their overshield is dead, and then once the overshield is done, you're done in 2 shots or something like that. Where at least in Apex, you get an idea
Yeah.
of your guns hitting people. I don't know if you feel the same way about it, but Halo
100%.
needs players.
I feel like it's always been the time to kill on Halo has been a little high. I've also been seeing a bunch of rumblings about the Battle Royale mode too for Halo. I think there was a couple of things. I know one was there was a mention by Doctor Disrespect, and he quickly got quiet about it. Like he has already played it, possibly. I would be interested to check out a Halo Battle Royale though, for sure.
As would I, especially with like they've always been fun and arcadey with the vehicles, which
Hmm.
is something that like while Warzone has vehicles, it's not as like fun as a Warthog and with the machine gun engine or a tank with a scorpion wise
Yep.
or
Or
flying stuff.
Ghost.
It definitely could be fun. I definitely see
Yeah.
it being a lot more fun than other battle royales, but it just needs to be done right the first
Yeah.
time.
100%.
Take a lesson from Battlefield 2042. And
No,
then the
don't
last bit
take a
of
lesson from them. Don't do anything like what they do.
well, no, a lesson meaning don't do what they did.
Fair.
But last up I have is Nintendo news, and they've announced that Splatoon 3 is to come out in September, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is to come out July 29th. We were looking at sort of a slightly like less packed holiday season, I feel like, this year. But we have Splatoon 3, which is going to be early in the holiday season, which is smart. That's what Nintendo does. I'm excited for Splatoon 3. It's going to be a nice comeback for that series, and I'm interested to see what they did new. They've had a long time to kind of make things newer and make it more, I think, accessible to everybody, because it feels like a kids game in a way, and I feel like they could do a lot to make it more than that. I feel like this could be like the premier over the shoulder third person shooter that, Nintendo probably thinks and wants it to be. And then with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I love these games. I just never beat them because they're 100 plus hours, and I'm excited that I don't have to wait too long for it.
Yeah, I mean, Splatoon, I feel like I always get excited for it and then I play it for about a day and then I don't ever touch it again. So hopefully they change it up a little bit. I would like a better semblance of some sort of single player experience. I know they kind of had it with Splatoon 2, kind of. But just something a little bit more would be nice. I don't know that I'm ever going to be like fully locked in. I'm going to play this game for 200 hours with a Splatoon game, but I don't know. I guess I get my hopes up a little bit every time.
Yeah, I can see that. I do know that they had the DLC that came out for Splatoon 2 that was more story based. I have
Mhm.
a feeling, and what I'm hoping for is that one, the multiplayer like leveling system kind of gets evened out to where the fact that I don't have to play with guns I don't like, that kind of thing, I would really prefer to have to skip. And then with story mode, I feel like there's an aspect of like that they haven't touched yet, which is like kind of puzzles with like paint and jumping between place to place like in a certain amount of time. I don't know. I feel like the way Splatoon works and what it does well, like you could also do with like a story mode type puzzle thing where you're in like some sort of challenge room trying to figure it out. I don't know, but I just want to see paint puzzles. I think that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be cool. I don't feel like I played Splatoon 2 enough. I don't think I gave it enough of a shot. So maybe I should try it again and see if there's some more there to keep me entertained. But I don't know what it was that made me like bounce off it so hard. There was something that I can't remember that I just did not like in the game, but I
Probably the
don't
fact that voice chat doesn't work very well because you're doing it through your
that was part of it.
phone.
Which I still never attempted at all.
I've done it before. It's pretty sad.
It's fair.
But that's going to be it for news. So let's get into our fun segment of the week.
Yeah. So no news, not a whole lot of games coming out, so we had to come up with something. So, based on the fact that, and I'll talk about it later, I did finally watch the Uncharted movie yesterday. Actually, I came up with 32 video game movies, threw them in a bracket, and for the sake of everybody at home, even though it'll look backwards, we're officially on paper here. I have the Rotten Tomato scores for all of them, so if you want to request them for a specific one, let me know. But we're gonna have a good old fashioned shootout here and see which one is crowned High Sensitivity Podcast best video game movie of all time. Are you ready?
Let's hit it. Yeah, let's go.
Okay, here we go. The first matchup is going to be Detective Pikachu versus a movie I'm sure you never watched, DOA, Dead or Alive.
So I was looking up a whole bunch of movies and I saw a
Yeah,
synopsis for it. Even if it was paired up against like DOA was even any good, I'm
yeah.
still going Detective Pikachu. Just hands down. I did really love Detective Pikachu.
I did. I have seen every movie on this list. I'll throw that out here to begin with. And Dead or Alive is god awful. So I think it's very easy to say Detective Pikachu moves on.
Okay.
That's an easy one. All right, next matchup. Mortal Kombat, and this is the old Mortal Kombat, the 90s Mortal Kombat,
hmm
and Max Payne, starring Mark Wahlberg. Go.
So from what I know is, and I've seen the '95 version of Mortal
Mhm.
Kombat. It wasn't that bad. I don't know. I don't feel like
It's
it's that
bad.
bad, but Max Payne, boy, the Max Payne Mark Wahlberg. That
Do you want the Rotten Tomato score on Max Payne?
Yeah, give me that.
15%. Mortal
Yeah,
Kombat is 45.
yeah. Like I like Mark Wahlberg, but I can't pass. I can't let Max Payne pass because I like Mark Wahlberg.
Yes. Max Payne's an awful movie. Uh, Awful. Mortal Kombat is an awful movie as well, but it's a good awful, I think. I had so much fun with that when I was a younger kid. It's so cheesy and over the top, and it's exactly what you want in a Mortal Kombat movie. So I think Mortal Kombat wins that one easily.
Give the Rotten Tomato scores for all the movies before,
Okay.
like
All right.
when we go down, just give them all anyway.
Okay. All right. Next matchup. We have Rampage starring Dwayne The Rock Johnson sitting at a 51%, and the animated Ratchet and Clank sitting at a 21%.
This is a hard matchup for me because I'm not gonna lie, like Rampage, it is it is so loosely based.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
it is barely a video game movie if I could call it one.
Yeah.
Where you know the other one kind of the other one kind of is the
Yeah. It's a tough one. I think personally, if I'm going off the better movie, I think it's Rampage. Um, but more true to a video game source, it's Ratchet and Clank easily.
yeah.
Um,
And like Ratchet
so
and Clank did have good like animation style, but I'll
mhm,
admit that movie was not good. Like
it was not.
yeah. So
I'll leave
I
this one up to you.
I don't know. I think because we're basing it based on movie, like we'll do Rampage. We'll go ahead
Okay.
and put Rampage
We'll
through.
move Rampage on here. Okay. Next matchup, we have the new Mortal Kombat sitting at a 54%, and another Dwayne The Rock Johnson movie, Doom, sitting at 18%.
Oh yeah, so Doom. See, I don't think we can have too many Dwayne the Rock Johnsons in this bracket. To be honest, like the 2021 Mortal Kombat, I did enjoy.
Mhm.
They did a lot better job with the combat, the goriness, the lore sort of things. Made it digestible for a lot of people who didn't even know or play Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Mortal Kombat because it was also like a turning point for video game movies.
Yeah. I have a soft spot for Doom only because at that time, this was like that I can remember one of the first video game movies that was like heavily advertised. And that first person section at the end of the movie was like mind blowing when I was of that age in the movie theater. I was like, oh my God, this looks exactly like a video game. But the new Mortal Kombat is like hands down better by
Yeah.
far. I don't even think it's close. So some of these I had to classify like the whole series into one rather than split them up. So
Oh,
for this one,
so what about all 21 versions of Pokemon movies? Is
I'm
that
not
in the
putting those
list?
in there at all. I didn't put them in there
Ah,
at all.
damn.
All right. So we have the Resident Evil series.
Okay.
Because I'm not doing all those individually, sitting at an average of 36% if you average them all together. And then the classic Postal movie sitting at a solid 9%.
Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Like it is a little bit hard to judge them because Resident Evil does have more movies in there,
Yep.
but the Postal movie was that
Awful.
bad. Yeah.
It was bad. Okay, that was an easy one. Next matchup, we have Need for Speed. If you remember that movie from a couple years ago.
2014, yep.
Yep, 22%. And Monster Hunter, which just came out at a 45%. I feel like this is a good matchup.
It is because I hate the Monster Hunter movie. Like all the Monster Hunter movie is like just action, 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 and nothing else. Like, yes,
Yeah.
fighting the monsters is cool, but man, wow, yeah, this one's rough. I'm gonna say Need for Speed because of my bias. I hated Monster Hunter. I really did not like it.
You have the potential here if Monster Hunter moves on that Monster Hunter versus Resident Evil in the next round would be Mila Jovovich versus Mila Jovovich.
Jovich, yeah, you're right.
Um I think me personally, I like the Need for Speed movie better. I thought the Monster Hunter movie was boring.
As did I. So
Yep. Okay. Need for Speed with I don't know why I'm forgetting his name, but he was from Breaking Bad. But anyway,
Aaron Paul. Aaron.
yeah, Aaron Paul. Yep.
Okay, I almost said Paul Rudd, but I mean,
All right, this is
not him.
an interesting matchup here. We have Final Fantasy Advent Children
Oh boy.
sitting at a surprising 50%. And Warcraft sitting at 28%.
I am I am of the way of going for Final Fantasy here. Like Warcraft, it has the same problem as Rampage, where it does not feel like a video game movie whatsoever.
Okay.
Um, I do admit that they do try to do a decent amount of like lore, and like there is a couple throwbacks to it, but it tries so hard to be this political, it almost feels like Game of Thrones when it was at its
Yeah.
hype, because it's trying to be this political humans against orcs, but then also like this combat thing where like it's heavy armor, and I don't know, it's Warcraft is a very forgettable movie.
It was so hyped up too when it
Yeah.
was coming out. Like this was going to be the video game movie. I think it's Final Fantasy as well. I never actually finished the Warcraft movie because I was so bored. I thought it was awful. Final Fantasy wins that one. All right, next one we have Uncharted and Hitman. There's
I'm gonna
actually
go with
two Hitman movies, but go ahead.
yeah, I'm gonna go with Uncharted. The Uncharted movie, I think, captures what's right about Uncharted, where the Hitman movies, like, and we just have so many of these video game movies that just try to do like the whole one person shooter thing, like Max
Yep.
Payne, for example,
Yep.
in a way. So they try to capitalize on the Agent 47 Hitman series, and I
Yep.
just don't. And there's not a lot to work with a movie there, I think. So I think like from the start we should not have been making Agent 47 or
Nope.
Hitman movies. So
Nope.
that's why I like, not only is Uncharted I think better, but I don't think we should have made Hitman movies to begin
I agree. I think Uncharted is easily. All right, so going over to the other side here, we have Wreck It Ralph, which technically classifies as a video game movie, and that's sitting at an 87%, by the way.
with. Yeah.
And then I have Blood Rain, which I remember that movie sitting at a 4%.
Yeah, this isn't a contest. It's
It's
Wreck-It
not even
Ralph. Yeah,
close.
it's Wreck-It Ralph.
Wreck It Ralph wins. Okay. Now, this one is a battle of the 90s movies, 80s and 90s, actually. We have Street Fighter with Jean Claude Van Damme sitting at a 12%. And then we have the 80s movie Double Dragon also sitting at a 12%.
So I didn't watch Double Dragon. That's a little
Yep.
bit beyond my time, but I did watch Street Fighter.
Okay.
Um, I don't know. I guess this one I'm gonna have to lean on you a little bit more because I don't
Okay.
know about the Double Dragon movie too much.
I enjoyed the Street Fighter movie as a kid, but I knew it was terrible.
Okay.
But I just think it's more enjoyable other than Double Dragon. Double Dragon's awful. It's real
It
bad.
it feels like it also feels like a fight between two very similar things, where
Yeah,
Double Dragon was also like muscly guys fighting, and
it
Street
was.
Fighter is also kind of like that in a way, with
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Ryu
Street
and
Fighter
whatnot.
is the win there.
Okay.
Next one, Prince of Persia with Jake Gyllenhaal sitting at a 37%, and the somewhat recently released Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City, that's at a 31%.
So, I like Prince of Persia better, and it's
Hmm.
also because I like Jake Gyllenhaal.
Sure.
Like the Prince of Persia movies are a good concept for like, or the games are a good concept for movies, especially with time bending wise.
Yep.
Kind of the aspect of the action also I think fits well in a movie. It's just too bad they didn't execute better with that
Hmm.
movie when it came out. So I'm for Prince of Persia.
I am as well. I enjoyed the Prince of Persia movie quite a bit when it came out. I bet you I've watched that like 5 or 6 times at least, even
Oh
though I
well.
know it's terrible. But yeah, Prince of Persia easily. The Resident Evil one was supposed to be so good. It looked like it was going to be so faithful to the movie or the game, but it was awful. All right, next matchup. We got the fairly recent, I guess it is a couple years ago now, Tomb Raider at a 52%, and the much loved Super Mario Brothers sitting at a 28%.
I've seen both of these movies.
Yep.
I really did like Tomb Raider. I really thought Tomb Raider should have been better, or at least better
Hmm.
reviewed.
Sure.
But it's a good origin story, and I think like they have the actress nailed down with Alicia Vikander,
Yeah.
as for Laura Croft there. Like Yeah, I know you say beloved Super
It
Mario
is
movie,
beloved.
but it's
Yep.
beloved for all the wrong reasons.
It is. I feel like a lot of people would fight for this one to go on. I'm not one of those people. I was never that attached to the Super Mario Brothers movie. But yeah, I think Tomb Raider would be my choice here. Do you agree?
Yeah, Tomb Raider.
Okay, Tomb Raider goes on. Okay. This next one's interesting, at least for me, I think it is. We have Silent Hill, which there are two movies in this, at a 32%, and Free Guy at an 80%.
So, as I've mentioned many times on this podcast, I am not a horror person, and Silent
Sure.
Hill is right up my nope alley. So, what was like Silent Hill for you? Like, I think we
I
both really loved Free Guy, so I think it's going to take a lot to beat Silent
I
like
love
Free Guy to
Free
lose.
Guy, but when I lined these up and these two fell together, I love the first Silent Hill movie. Love it. Um I know it's reviewed poorly. I feel like with normal people, not reviewers, I feel like it's quite a bit higher than 32%. The second Silent Hill movie's awful. So if we were to combine them like I have been doing, I think Free Guy wins, but I think it's really close for me.
Okay, so here's my thing. Free
Sure.
Guy is very loosely based on
It's
any
true.
sort of video game. So I lean towards Silent Hill because Silent
Okay.
Hill is true to its Silent Hill like, and I imagine it is based on your end
Yeah.
more toward the games where Freeman is, I guess, in a way related to GTA,
Kinda, yeah.
in a lot of ways, but it's not directly, I guess,
Okay.
labeled as such.
Silent Hill wins by a technicality.
Yes.
I thought about that when I put this on here. I was like, I don't know if Free Guy qualifies, but we're gonna throw it in here anyway.
Yeah, no, it's a good movie to still talk about. Like that movie,
Yeah.
people should be watching. It's a good
Yeah.
movie.
All right. Next one we have the Angry Birds movies sitting at a collective 43%, and the old Tomb Raider movies with Angelina Jolie sitting at a collective 20%.
So it's gonna seem very basic. I'm for the Angry Birds movies.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Um. I don't know. Like the thing is with the Angelina Jolie like Tomb Raider movies, like there are a couple good ones, but there are also like because it was two, right? It was like
Yeah, there
two or
was two.
three.
Yep.
Yeah, two. I I don't know. I almost feel like the reason like everybody picks Angelina Jolie is because they want her to be sexualized as Tomb
Yeah.
Raider, and I just feel like that doesn't do justice to Tomb Raider in a way.
Yeah. At
Uh,
the time it did, because that's what Tomb Raider was.
yeah, but
Yep.
mm.
Yeah,
How do you feel?
I think Angry Birds is the right call. Tomb Raider was insanely popular back in the day, but again, it was for other reasons, like you said. It wasn't
And
because the movies were good.
yeah, and I have to say, like the Angry Birds movies, like they are so loosely based.
Mhm.
Like the only thing we have for Angry Birds is the fact that we fling them at pigs trying to destroy them. Where
Yep,
the Angry Birds movies try to make up this whole thing, and they have a really good voice acting as well. I do have to say
they
that
do.
they do have good voice actors in those
Yeah, I agree. I think Angry Birds is the right choice here. All right, next one is the Adam Sandler movie Pixels, if you remember that, at an 18%. And then also at an 18%, Assassin's Creed. This is a tough one.
movies. It is. Um, I liked Pixels because it's more callback.
Hmm.
Assassin's Creed was just so bad.
It was
Like
bad. It was
what
boring.
yeah, like I think I'm going to go with Pixels here because I hated that Assassin's Creed movie so much.
Yep.
And Assassin's Creed is another one of those franchises that would make for a good movie. But,
Yeah.
you just have people who are not attached to the franchise or attached to the Assassin's Creed sort of franchise and they just try to make a movie out of it, which just ends up being poor in poor taste and a disservice to the games.
Yeah. I think Pixels as well, based solely on like I vaguely remember the movie, but I remember the end scene with the big old Pac-Man. I thought it
Yeah.
was funny and pretty cool. So Pixels wins that one. And then the last one in the first round here, We have the Sonic movies with the new release second one, which
Oh, okay.
I still have not seen. So we'll go off the first one, Sonic the Hedgehog, and that's at a 67%, and then Wing Commander at a 10%. This might be the quickest
I
one yet.
Yeah, yeah, for me, and I have to say, I recently watched Sonic again.
Yeah,
This the Sonic the first movie. Yeah, like it wins for me because it is like it's loyal to the game in a lot of
yep,
ways. Yes, the human aspect isn't that like we're not there for the human aspect of Sonic, but when Sonic is doing Sonic, it's very funny, it's very creative, and it's also like what we want out of it.
yeah.
So for me, it's Sonic.
Sonic wins easily in this one. All right, let's go to the second round. Here we go.
He blew
Detective.
past that one, didn't he?
Yeah, ha, that was good. Detective Pikachu and the
Okay,
'90s Mortal Kombat.
Detective Pikachu.
You sure?
See, for me, like Detective Pikachu is so well done in
Mm-hmm.
what in its original format, and not only that, they knocked it out of the park with Ryan Reynolds as a Pikachu.
Yeah.
Like, we question like Chris Pratt as Mario, but like
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu,
Yeah, you buy in.
everybody wanted it to be like Tommy DeVito or something like that because that's the kind of vibe he gave off in the games.
Yep.
But the, Ryan Reynolds kills it as Pikachu, which is weird to say, in a way. And I
Yeah.
also think like they did a good job of not making like the Pokemon look like atrocities to humankind. Um, Even Bulbasaur somehow looks like cute and not like a disgusting creature.
Yeah.
So and Mewtwo, like it looks like it does the Pokemon don't stick out. So I
Yeah.
think there was a lot of like care that went into Detective Pikachu, where yes, the '90s Mortal Kombat is fun, over the top, and cheesy. I just like I like Detective Pikachu better.
Yeah, I agree with you on this one. I think Detective Pikachu is the right choice. It's a close one for me, though. It's pretty close. All right. How about Rampage and the newer Mortal Kombat?
Newer Mortal Kombat. We need to get Rampage out of there.
You don't want Rampage in there anymore? I agree
No,
with you.
yeah, like we barely mentioned. Like, of course, like Rampage doesn't give you a lot to go off of,
Right.
and they try to do what they can with it, but that doesn't mean it deserves any extra credit for it. So
That being said, I think Rampage would be one of, if not the, in my opinion, worst rock movies. I think, in my opinion.
what about
I
Doom
just
Guy?
Doom is I like Doom.
Okay,
I
I'm just saying. Like,
I know it's not a good movie, but I'd rather watch Doom than Rampage again,
okay, fair enough.
personally. All right, Resident Evil franchise and Need for Speed.
Resident Evil franchise. Like
Yep.
it's really hard for me to judge it just because it is so many movies again. But
Right.
I do remember having like good and like I don't even like horror, but I do remember watching those Resident Evil movies and it's not just horror. There's a little bit of
Right.
like the action to it as well that I think Mila does a really good job of selling.
Yeah.
So yeah, Resident Evil series.
Yeah. I enjoy the Resident Evil series. There's some bad movies in there,
Yeah.
but there's some good ones as well. So I think overall the experience, if you were to watch them straight through, would be positive ish. I would think.
Yeah.
All right, Final Fantasy Advent Children and Uncharted.
Uncharted.
Yeah, I think Final Fantasy has to go. I have a soft spot for the Final Fantasy movie, but I think Uncharted's better. Was the Final
it
Fantasy movie really that good, or am I just looking at it with my perspective of loving the game?
See, like the thing is the action scenes in the Final Fantasy movie, like they're good, like
Yeah,
they are, but it's just something where like Uncharted has and also is something not really fair to judging it has a lot more potential in
yeah,
what it can do. Where the Final Fantasy games, you really aren't congruent to anything. Like there is no returning characters, and there's a reason they didn't make any more movies.
yeah, for real. There's a reason I didn't include the other Final Fantasy movie that I'm forgetting the name of that came out in like the early 2000s
I
because that
remember,
movie
yeah,
was terrible. Oof. All right, Wreck It Ralph and Street Fighter.
Wreck It Ralph.
Yep.
Yeah,
Again,
but
an easy win for Wreck-It Ralph.
yeah, like that one's gonna go pretty far. I've got a lot of fond memories with Wreck-It Ralph.
Wreck-It Ralph is like Gonzaga cruising through the first 4 rounds of the tournament and just
Oh,
crushing
there we go. I
everybody.
like that. Yeah, it's gonna start
All right,
struggling here in a little bit.
it will. Prince of Persia and the newer Tomb Raider. They're almost similar, kind of.
Ah, they really are actually. This one's harder for me.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Um, I'm gonna go with the Prince of Persia.
Wow.
As much as I like the, I feel like the Prince of Persia movies were more entertaining than Tomb Raider. Like, yes, the new Tomb Raider, like, if there's a second one, the second one has potential to really like do a lot better and knock its
Yep.
boots off. But this first one spent so much time like kind of being boring and trying to like set up Laura Croft and her backstory.
Yeah.
So I just remember having a lot more fun with Prince of Persia.
Yeah, I remember being a little let down when I left the theater seeing Tomb Raider, honestly. I think I just expected a lot more out of it. And Prince of Persia, again, it's dumb fun. So Prince
Yeah.
of Persia for me as well. All right. Silent Hill and Angry Birds. This is a weird one.
Yeah, it is. This is two really, really strange ones where I almost want to give it to Silent Hill because Silent Hill is a better movie that's more. Well, sorry, I shouldn't say better movie, but it
Yeah,
is the better video game adaptation of the movies
there you go.
where Angry Birds is, and it's, again, they don't have enough to go off of, but they were just kind of monopolizing the fact that Angry Birds was the biggest thing the kids were playing, so
Yeah,
people watched it and people did like it. That's not, its own fault, but this is a video game movie bracket.
that's right. Silent Hill, easy. And the last one in the second round, Pixels and Sonic.
Sonic. Yeah.
Another easy win for Sonic.
Yeah, we're gonna start getting closer here into where it gets a lot more difficult, and like some of these
Right.
are good, but
Yeah. Yeah. All
had to give
right.
it to
Sonic
Sonic.
wins that one handedly. All right, let's go back over third round here. Detective Pikachu and the newer Mortal Kombat. Now it's not as of a given for you for Detective Pikachu now.
No, because like I like Detective Pikachu, but I
Yep.
can't like I can't let go of how much fun that new Mortal Kombat was.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like it's cheesy and over the top and does a whole bunch of good callbacks to its original franchise in a
Yeah.
way that where Pokemon, like, I'm trying not to let my love for Pokemon oversee the fact that, like, is Mortal Kombat the better movie?
No, it's not. Detective Pikachu is the better movie. You know it is.
Yeah, yeah, I guess it is. I just really miss because like Detective Pikachu isn't as much dumb fun
Yeah.
as Mortal Kombat is, and I can't express how much fun that movie is.
Yeah.
Where Detective Pikachu, you're right, is the better movie, but it's slower and paces itself. Where in Mortal Kombat we're just treated with gore after fight. So
I will hand this one to you. You make the call.
well, if you're gonna give me that, it's Detective Pikachu.
Okay. Detective Pikachu. I think it's close.
Yeah, that one is
Um,
really close. That one's the closest one we've had so far.
I think for me, I would go Detective Pikachu just because there was moments in Mortal Kombat where I thought it got a little boring.
Yeah.
Specifically them training, I thought was kind of dumb, but
Hmm.
overall, it was a good movie. All right, the Resident Evil franchise and Uncharted.
The pause because I'm trying to
Yep.
collect my thoughts here.
This is a close one too.
Yeah, because I feel like Uncharted, like for both of us, has left a good taste in our, a
Yeah.
good taste for us because we recently watched those where with the Resident Evil series, like there are good movies, but there are also really bad ones. So
Yeah.
a part of me is like this mixed bag of a series for Resident Evil, but whereas Uncharted is just one movie that will probably be a series and I think is better. then
So here's a question I have for this one particular matchup. When you look back and you think about like people like, oh yeah, I remember the Resident Evil movies, right? Because most people, if you ask them, be like, yeah, I remember watching those. Do you think, and they're what, like 15, 20 years old now?
yeah.
Do you think 15, 20 years from now, people are gonna be like, oh yeah, I remember the Uncharted movie?
You know what? You're not wrong. That's
I
a good
don't think
point
I
because
don't think you
nobody
will. Yeah.
unless the other movies do better
Right.
or do just
Right.
as well. Whereas the Resident Evil movies, like there are so many of them,
Mm-hmm.
and it. You know what? I'm kind of now siding toward Resident Evil to the point where, like Uncharted, you could not call this movie like you could not call it Uncharted and
Yep.
it would still be this kind of like thief trying to steal riches sort of movie, which we've seen before.
Mhm.
National Treasure, for
Yep.
example, because
Yep.
it borrows a lot of the same sort of things from National Treasure. Where Resident Evil was this mix of like gory horror and action that really is really hard to replicate, I think, in a lot of
Yeah.
ways for movies. Okay, I'm gonna go. You've switched me over. I'm going Resident Evil.
Resident Evil. I was thinking about this again because I just watched Uncharted yesterday. If you take, for us, if you take Uncharted off of the title of that movie, right, and just make it whatever title you want, but don't put it tied to the games, just National Treasure wannabe, Indiana Jones wannabe. 2 years from now, even a year from now, people will be like, "Do you remember that Tom Holland movie he did?" And most people will be like, "What movie?" You know,
The
not that
Spider-Man movie.
it's
Yeah,
not a bad movie. I enjoyed Uncharted. I just, if it doesn't have Uncharted on it, I think it's something we forget about 6 months from now,
I think you're absolutely
personally.
right. Yeah.
All right, let's go over the other side here. Wreck-It Ralph, Prince of Persia. Does Wreck-It Ralph cruise again for you?
See, like the thing is like I was so amazed by like the Wreck-It Ralph like movie with its callbacks to the game and like putting a new spin on Wreck-It Ralph in a
Mhm.
way where I don't say it cruises, it's starting to struggle a little bit.
Okay.
But I am more for putting Wreck-It Ralph through as well.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that Prince of Persia had a good run. They had a good
Yeah.
season. Um, but there comes a point where your Cinderella season runs out.
Yeah.
And I think this is it. All right, last one in this round, Silent Hill and Sonic.
Sonic for me. Like
Yeah,
I know you love that first Silent Hill,
I do.
but
Sonic's the better movie though.
yeah, Sonic is the better.
So I just want to point this out when we get to the final four here that three of them are technically animated.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
All right, Detective Pikachu, Resident Evil series.
Detective Pikachu. Like this is where the quality of I think Detective Pikachu
Yep.
like oversees a whole series of Resident Evil movies. And it comes to the originality like sort of portion where this is a much more different like Detective Pikachu is more than just like a detective movie. It's more
Yeah.
than just like a Sherlock Holmes type thing because it adds the video gaminess of Pokemon to it and how it blends into the real world. So I'm yeah,
Detective Pikachu.
Detective Pikachu.
All right. And then the other half of the final four, Wreck-It Ralph and Sonic.
Here we go. This is where Gonzaga struggles, I
Yep.
think.
Yep.
Because like let's take and like I know we haven't mentioned it, and I know we haven't seen the new Sonic movie, but
Mm-hmm.
Sonic 2 has surpassed like what Sonic did. And even though
Yep.
we both haven't seen it, we both kind of have an idea of what the movie's gonna be about because it's Sonic, where Wreck-It Ralph 2 kind of takes it and I think I'm cheating here in a way, but Wreck-It Ralph 2 takes it so much away more from the video game aspect
Right.
and goes into internet like
Mm-hmm.
type of Wi-Fi uh sort of version for there. So for me, I'm still with Sonic
Okay.
because and man, this one's rough.
It's
This one is
bad.
really rough
I think I would
because
almost lean more towards Wreck-It Ralph. But you're not wrong. The second Wreck-It Ralph is less memorable than the first one. So I mean, if we're going strictly off of first Wreck-It Ralph and first Sonic, I think it's Wreck-It Ralph. But if
and
you're
I
going
think
off of the both of them, I think it's Sonic.
I think we should. I think we should go Wreck It. I think you're right. Like we should go Wreck It Ralph because I'm trying to judge
Yeah.
both movie has sequels, and that's not what we're doing here.
Okay.
So I think we should go Wreck It Ralph because Wreck It Ralph the original is is a really good
It's
movie.
great.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So the final here, Detective Pikachu and Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh man, who?
This is a hard one.
Yeah, this one's the hardest for me. Doesn't it feel like Detective Pikachu is kind of like it's Pokemon, so it's kind of like a blue bud like Kansas,
Yeah.
or
It does.
like
A
Pokemon's
Duke.
always
Yep.
there. And Wreck It
Yep.
Ralph is kind of like the Gonzaga, where they're sort of newer but not blue
Yep.
blood
Yep.
sort of thing. So
Even though it is Disney.
yeah, it is Disney.
Disney's a
I almost
powerhouse.
I almost don't want to give it to Disney because it's Disney. Uh,
I will say, this is my opinion, and you can go
yeah.
either way. I'm going to leave it up to you to call this one. I think going off of a movie based on a game, I think you have to go Detective Pikachu because Wreck-It Ralph is not technically based on a game.
Well,
A
it
real game.
is.
Yeah.
It is, and like I'm trying to remember with like I had more fun.
Mhm.
Again, this is a movie where I think Wreck It Ralph had more fun moments,
Yeah.
where Detective Pikachu is more like this slow burn of fun that you get. It's not so much of an excitement. So, man, I'm gonna have to watch both movies again. I'm gonna watch both movies like this weekend, and I'll have to let you know what I
Okay.
think is the final portion of things to like give myself a clear,
What we could
distinct
do
winner.
what we could do is we could watch them, and then next podcast we could pick.
I think that's what we should do because
Okay.
I need to watch both of those movies again.
Okay.
It's been a
So,
while since I've seen Wreck It Ralph or Detective Pikachu, and I think
y
that goes the same for you.
yeah, I haven't seen them in a long time. I'm cool with watching both of these this week and then definitively coming back and being like, "This is the better movie." I
Okay,
think
yeah.
that's fair. Alright, so we'll leave everybody in suspense, and we will pick next week.
I also think this is a good opportunity for people to like email us and tweet us like
Mhm.
what movie do you like better for and for why as well.
Yep.
So please make sure that you hit us up on Twitter, or Instagram. Let us know why you think which one is better and what we should do
Yeah.
with it.
I will put both of these up on the Instagram, but I'm gonna wait like a day or 2 after the podcast posts so as
Yeah.
not to spoil where we're at. But that should give everybody a couple days to think about it and to let us know, and then we'll come back and record and give the definitive answer.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we can do that. All
Cool.
right. I like that. So, thanks everybody for listening to our segment of video game movies, and we're gonna come back with the exciting conclusion next week.
Yes.
We have to keep you all in suspense. But other than that, let's go ahead and go into games where I'm working on my backlog for once in my life,
Yes.
and I'm
Yeah,
not
wait,
playing it.
are you playing Horizon?
Yes,
All right.
I'm back on the Horizon train, and for whatever reason, I am also playing Scarlet Nexus.
I saw
I
that and I was like, why is this man playing Scarlet Nexus again?
I honestly couldn't tell you what came over me to watch to play Scarlet Nexus, but I'm having fun with it. I don't know what to tell you. Like it
Did you
is.
not beat it?
No, I did.
Okay.
Um, but I hadn't played it since all of the updates came out, and
Okay.
the updates do a lot better. And like there are more. There's more like bonding, which I know you're not the biggest fan of that whole bonding
Oh, it's
thing
my favorite part of the
because
game.
it was talking.
Yep.
And that's what this game does a lot. It talks,
Yep.
and it did some tiny bit improvements with the combat that I'm really enjoying, where it feels more like Kingdom Hearts 2,
Okay.
um kind of like fast combat where it's not as floaty. And if I know I'm comparing battle styles in a way, but playing Scarlet Nexus reminds me of fun that I had with like the Kingdom Hearts combat, and it just goes to show, and it shows with like the whole versatility of the psychic power things and how good the feedback is when like you oil an enemy and then light them on fire for damage, or make an enemy wet and then electrocute them for damage, and or like enemies that need to have their barrier broken, use your teleportation to do it before like I actually can't stress enough how satisfying some of that is because I haven't I haven't played this game in a while and I was like, wow, this is like a lot of like fun doing this. So that's where I'm at. Like those are the two games I'm playing, and I just talked about Scarlet Nexus. But what have you been playing?
So I've been using this time to kind of catch up on indie games that I've missed, and also still play Lego Star Wars. But I played Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion,
I've heard of this game.
and then I just started playing, and I'm gonna forget what it was called. Far the Changing Tide, I believe is what it's
Yep.
called.
Yep.
I'm a little early on that one, so I'm gonna play that some more this week. And then I dipped my toe. Actually, I didn't dip my toe. I jumped right into the deep end of American Truck Simulator that everybody seems to be so high on. I went all in. I was like, you know what? I see a ton of people streaming this game. I believe Alex Navarro is a huge truck simulator guy. I know he streams
Yeah.
that all the time. So I jumped into that as well.
Okay. Well, tell us about that. I guess because
American.
I'm now intrigued.
All right. So the idea of a truck simulator game seems so crazy to me, and I was so like intrigued. Everybody knows my love for simulator games. I play a ton of them. So when I saw everybody is high on this one, I'm like, let me try this out. It seems dumb, right? Like just driving a truck, but I wanted to give it a shot. It was $20. Um, I will say this: it's very nice to you pick your contract, you take your load with your truck out, and you pop Spotify on in the background, and you're just driving, right? You're just rolling along, having a good time. It's pretty relaxing, honestly. They do a good job of accurately replicating the areas. Like this is in California, but you can buy, I think there's like 7 or 8 other states for DLC. And they
Okay.
have pretty much if not, I don't know that they have every single town in the state, but they have most of them. Um, but it's like the little stuff that I've noticed they've done that I appreciate. Um, the very first route I did, I got on the highway. Speed limit's 65. I'm going like 90. Of course, I get a speeding ticket. So I had to slow down, but like I'm driving along, and the first thing you learn is turning sucks, right? And braking sucks because you have so much weight. So I'm driving along, I'm going like 70. There's a couple cars in front of me, they slam on the brakes. So of course I have to slam on the brakes. My load in the back is going sideways in the middle of the highway, but I get stopped in time and I'm like, what the hell is going on? So they start going, and as I go, I start to see in a little bit in the distance some smoke. So as I go farther on, I see a car smoking. I see 2 cop cars. And then I see a cop standing there doing the waving you on, right? Like the yes, this way. And I'm like, the fact that it's something little, but it's like the little stuff they put in here like that is hilarious to me, and it's so cool. Stuff you would normally see, right? The cop on the side on his motorcycle with his radar gun, something like that.
Yeah.
Even when you go into like the towns and you'll see like somebody's up at that business is out there washing the windows out front or something like that. It's pretty cool, like the amount of detail they put into it. And it's something that like, you could put your route on it. It may take you 30, 40 minutes. You can do longer ones that take you a couple hours. And I just think it's super relaxing. And for $20, man, I get why everybody's into it. Honestly, it's a
Okay.
ton of
Cool.
fun. Yeah. You
So
going to
I'll talk a
try it?
little bit of. I don't know. Like American Trucking Simulator probably isn't my forte, but I
It's not
do
mine
have
either.
to. Well, yeah, I do have to give it props for the fact that like it's giving you speeding tickets when you're speeding,
Yep.
and with realistic car, if even if there's like even if a car is completely out of the way and it's not smoking, but a
Yep.
cop is there with it, it backs up traffic because everybody has to
Yep.
slow down to see what it's doing. So I do like the fact that it's like real to that point,
Right.
and I just think there is a space for all of these, American truck driving and then farming simulator. Like there's
Yep.
always this space of like therapeutic type
Yeah.
of games. So I can never harp on people for liking these types of games because like they can be fun and they're also I also feel like it has the same issue with like sports games where they seem to release one every year and not change too much after it.
Yep.
but people buy it because it's like their therapeutic way to like, have fun and, calm down, or, whatever sort of range of emotions you're looking for a game to give you,
Yep.
these types of games can give you. So it's not my type of game, but I respect anybody who uses it for, fun, and I can see why they find it that way.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, give me that Horizon update. I'm excited.
So I'm back into playing it. I am now I'm unlocking parts of the map. My
Okay.
my problem is I'm also trying to like not get too caught in the side story type stuff, which
Yep.
is really hard when it continues to throw stuff at you.
A ton.
But like for me, this kind of like replaying this game has opened up a discussion, like, and it's been happening on Twitter, I think, a lot lately, where it's between like, okay, we are what, 1/4 into the new gaming year, almost a half when we hit
Hmm.
the end of June. And it seems like the two games up for game of the year right now would be Horizon Forbidden West and Elden Ring.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that I've dived like pretty deep into both of these games now, because I'm now much further into Horizon. And you know the kind of take backs and stuff where it's almost like a balancing scale, like whichever one's heavier is the slightly better game, but they both do such good things, and they do them so well that I find myself with Horizon getting more attached to like Horizon's world because it is so much more interesting to me. Uh and it does the same thing here. I love the robotic animals and how they look, because they look fantastic. I love the whole bringing civilization back to age 0 in a way and making us more primitive.
Yep.
And the game is, again, flat out gorgeous. Like, Elden Ring is gorgeous in its own way, but for me, Horizon Zero Dawn is like the better looking game, for me, without question. Um, and maybe it's because Horizon does a better job of showing off those moments. But like the going in the water and and swimming and like the beach level, like it looks just so good.
Hmm.
And I'm back kind of into Horizon's world. And it just goes to show that, like, I dropped that game for a little bit because so many more games came out. But I played that game, got through a couple more missions, and I'm like, yeah, let's keep hitting it. I'm enjoying this game.
Yeah. I'm excited to see when you get to the end, though, if it changes like it did for me, where you ended up being like, man, that ending was not good. Because you're at that point, especially when I got to like the beach level, where I was like, man, this game is phenomenal. Like
Yeah.
it's just great. And it just took a nosedive for me at the end. So I'm excited to see how you end up feeling on that game.
I'm really scared, to be honest, because I know what people thought of the ending, and
Yeah.
for me, and I've said it before so many times on this podcast, the ending is paramount to
Yep.
how you feel about the game. It is the last thing it gives you. And I get that you're trying to set up, and I've not been spoiled on the ending, but I do know it's setting up for the sequel. And
Right.
it's just like, you couldn't give us a satisfying ending without having
Right.
to leave us, in the air so much, apparently. So, we'll wait and see. We're gonna have a spoiler cast, I think, for Horizon Forbidden West and everything we like about it. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Turnip Boy commits tax evasion. This one will be quick. This is up on Game Pass now. Um, this is a tough one. Top down, kind of like an old school Zelda. For me, I feel like the humor doesn't really hit for me like it is for some people, because I know it's reviewing very well.
Yeah.
At its core, it's basically like, you start the game, it's like, I need you to go get this. So you go get that, and you're like, oh, I can't get there yet because I have to go find the sword. Just like Zelda, right? So like, all right, I'm gonna go find the sword. And then you go find the sword, and so it's like, hey, can you help me out with this real quick? And it's just a bunch of that. Which isn't a bad thing. I can enjoy that kind of stuff. But the humor for me is what's not clicking. The general consensus of the game is he hasn't paid his taxes. He's a turnip who hasn't paid his taxes, and he rips up his notice from the IRS that he didn't pay his taxes. So the rest of the game, anytime anybody gives you a note, you rip it up immediately. And like to me, I'm like, okay, I guess that's funny. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's just
yeah.
I don't know. I If you like the humor, you're gonna be all in on this game and think it's great. If you don't like the humor, the game I don't think is necessarily good enough that you're gonna wanna keep playing it.
Okay.
So but again, it's on Game Pass, so there's no reason you shouldn't check it out. I think it's on PC and Xbox, so give it a shot, see what you think. I think it might end up being on some people's list this year, honestly. It seems like some people are, like, super high on this game. Probably won't be on mine, though.
All right. So other than that, like, what did you watch for movie wise?
So obviously Uncharted. I watched
Yeah.
that. I thought the new episode of Moon Knight was worth talking about, and then I watched Choose or Die on Netflix, which is a horror movie.
Yeah, for me, I watched the new episode of Moon Knight, but I hadn't watched anything else. So
Okay, you want to
I
talk
meant
about
to go.
Moon Knight?
Yeah, let's talk about Moon Knight.
Okay,
Um, what? Uh,
that's
the
exactly what I said. What?
the moment that like in Moon Knight that you start to understand things, like I just have like I'm interested. Yeah, like
Yeah,
they did a good job of making me interested, but I have no clue
none.
what is going on.
Absolutely none.
I thought I had a clue,
Yep.
and now I have none. Like I literally don't have I don't like and spoilers, sorry, we're going to talk
Yeah.
about it. I have no idea why a psychiatric ward is now a part of this. And not only that, is it a psychiatric ward because one it seems to be like that, but then
Yeah.
also Steven and Mark's personalities are now separated for whatever reason in this ward of sorts.
Yeah.
And then you have an Egyptian god.
Yeah. You have a hippo.
Yeah, I
So
like it, but I'm
yeah.
also just like we have 2 episodes I think to figure out what all of this is, and it's just like I need
Yep.
I hope the conclusion is good enough to like warrant all of this sort of turnaround and confusion on my end.
Yeah, I think the moment you go to the psychiatric ward is the moment right after he gets shot.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm sitting there watching it, and he gets shot, and he wakes up in a psychiatric ward. My first thought, and I said it out loud, was, "Oh, this is the afterlife, right?" You know, he's in the afterlife, but somehow he's gonna come back. And then pretty quickly, I was like, "I don't think that's what this is. I Is this a real psychiatric hospital?" I think I'm leaning more towards it's just inside his head. I don't know, but like you said, like I am lost. I have no idea what's going on in this show. I enjoy watching this show, but yeah, they got to do some quick wrapping up in these last 2 episodes, and I'm sure they will. Um, but I mean, I was a fan of them opening the door and a big gigantic hippo was there. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's out of all the Marvel shows and movies, this one has made me go, I don't understand. More so than Loki did. Um, I don't know. It's confusing. So hopefully we
Yeah,
get a good resolution.
and that's what I mean. I think in a way if they're able to get this resolution to like make sense and feel satisfying, I think
Mhm.
like this has a chance to be the best show they've put out so far.
Yep.
But they're running a really high risk sort of like way of doing it because it needs to be satisfying and it needs to make sense.
Yeah.
Like why all of a sudden now is, and maybe it's explained in the comics. I've got no clue,
Mhm.
but is this psychiatric ward thing a part of like the Moon Knight or like like Moon Knight's lore or something like that? Or I'm not really sure, and that's again why I'm so confused. But
Right.
I have to see where it goes, and I know we film on Tuesdays. Tomorrow I'm gonna no. Well, the podcast comes out on Tuesday.
Yep.
The show comes out on Wednesday, and I'm gonna be like, okay, I gotta sit down and watch it because I gotta figure out what's going on.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure you could find somebody who has read all the comics, and they can immediately tell you what's going on with ease, but that's not us. So we're just
Yeah,
kind of holding on and hoping that it comes to a good end here. But so far, I think it's entertaining to say the least.
yeah. So
All right. So
yeah,
Uncharted, we talked about it a bunch in our brackets here. My impression on it is I still would have preferred to have an older Nathan Drake and a much older Sully, but I don't think that Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg did a bad job. I think they did a good job with what they had. I think there's a potential to make this a good series of movies, and they definitely set it up for that. Um, but yeah, it's a summer blockbuster, dumb movie that you watch with a bunch of popcorn. I enjoyed my time. I didn't hate it. I didn't look at my phone one time, which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
And as far as video game movies, even though it's not didn't make it to the end in our list, I think it's one of the better ones. So not too many complaints about it. And it could have been better, yeah. But it could have been so much worse. So I'll give them props for that.
Yeah, I guess my main like thing, and you bring up a good point, is kind of like the future for the series of where in the other Uncharted games, Nathan's past
Hmm.
and his playboy style of life and this treasure hunting sort of life, it gets in the way of him making a family.
Yeah,
And I don't know how they're gonna do that with Tom Holland, as he is this young, more spry Nathan Drake,
yeah,
where had we started like, and I'll use Nathan Fillion for an example because I think he was really I think he really wanted to be
yeah.
Nathan Drake.
Hmm.
Um where he kind of could play the older Nathan Drake and have these issues and make it so it's not just, and you said it yourself too, where it can be more than just a forgettable Indiana Jones national treasure sort of thing. It can start to make its own path
Yeah.
with how it gets remembered. I just don't know, like, are we waiting 4 years for every movie because Tom Holland needs to get older, that kind of
Right.
thing, or do we eventually do like a time skip of some sort with the character and go to another actor and go to a different person playing Sully or something like that? There's so many questions in the air that, you know, I want to see it take on the life of the video games a little bit more, and it
Yep.
just seems like, at the end of the first movie, we are teased with Nathan Drake's brother,
Yep.
where that really wasn't a thing until in the later Uncharted
The
games.
fourth one. Yep.
Exactly. So,
Yep.
and like that's my fear, is that we're rushing into things where Nathan Drake became personable because he had these like human flaws with treasure hunting, kind of being this playboy type guy, and it seems like we're just rushing straight from what made one special. What, and like one wasn't reviewed very well, Uncharted 1, and we're
No.
just
Yep.
trying to get straight into, the climactic Thieves End sort of thing
Yeah.
where you don't get that payoff without the buildup of 2 and 3. And 2 and 3 are
Yep.
two of the best Uncharted games that are have ever been made. And I'm not going to say just Uncharted, they're some of the best PlayStation games they'd ever put out. There's a reason
Yep.
that these games are so popular and were so well liked. It just feels like the movies are trying to cheat their way to and skim their way to a satisfying like conclusion, I guess, or something like that.
Yeah, this first movie, they're not really tied into any of the games, right? Like,
Yeah,
not that story isn't in any of the games. Whereas this tease for this next one is Uncharted 4 with his brother, with his ring. That's Uncharted 4. Um, but the big part of Uncharted 4, at least for me, why I love it so much was the dynamic between him and his wife,
yeah,
which
exactly,
has
yeah,
not, she was not even in this movie. And they have a daughter in Uncharted 4, which they're obviously not gonna do. So, I mean, I would be a little bummed if they completely cut that character out, which they may not, but, like, I don't know, that was such a big part of Uncharted 4 was him, being retired and then, completely lying to his wife and going off with his brother to find this, one last score. And now
mhm,
that she's not even a character in the movies yet, that's a big part not to put in. So yeah, we'll see where they go. It could be really good, or if there's gonna be no middle ground. I don't think it's gonna be really bad or really good. So
yeah.
we'll
I
see
have
what
a feeling
happens,
as
I
well.
guess. All right, last one, Choose or Die, which is a Netflix movie, a horror movie, also tied into video games, which I thought was really cool. Centers around a 80s choose your own adventure computer game, where it affects your actual surroundings. So there's a part where the main character is in a diner and it pops up on her screen. Should the waitress take a break or keep working? She picks take a break. The waitress starts dropping glasses on the floor and they shatter, and then she starts eating the glass. And she can't stop because the game is
Yeah.
forcing her to do. I think it's done very, very well. It's a very cool movie. I like the idea of kind of tying into an 80s type choose your own adventure game. Um, I would highly recommend it. I mean, I'm not going to recommend it to you because you're not a horror fan.
Yeah.
But I think there's some stuff in there that you would find pretty cool. And I enjoyed it heavily. So for now, it'll be on my list for the year. I think there's a ton of movies still coming out, so it may get bumped. But for the time being, you definitely should be checking it out.
Cool. All right. Well, that's going to be it for the podcast. I thank you guys for listening and tuning in for this episode. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to share it with your friends, review it on your podcasting platform of choice, and make sure to follow us or interact with us on Twitter or Instagram or Twitch if I ever decide to do that again. And if just make sure to be on the lookout for those tweets. If you have an opinion on which is better, whether it's Wreck It Ralph or Detective Pikachu, make
Yep.
sure that you at least vote or give an opinion. You know, have it. We'll probably read it on the podcast if you'd like. And if you want an anonymity, if that's it, if that's the word for it, we'll give it to you. I don't have to
We'll go
mention
with it.
anybody by name or anything. So thanks everybody for listening. We appreciate it, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you later.